everybody. Welcome to another exciting Driven Hunter podcast brought to you by Mission Crossbows. Today we're with my wife and we're talking about this last season and just how unbelievable it was.
It really was.
Incredible year, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, in the 14 falls of us hunting together, I would personally say for everyone involved this year, it was our number one season we've ever had as far as quality of content, the, harvests that we had, just the animals we put on the ground, everything, like from point A to point Z, the locations we visited. I mean, it was immaculate. I would say by far it was the best of the best.
Yeah, a lot of people ask us, how was our season? We're saying, it was probably our best ever. And we said that last year.
Right.
Which is a good thing when you're doing TV and doing digital content. You always want to have great content. And this past year was like off the charts.
Right.
You personally had one of your better years, and you shot your first ever bull moose at close range. We'll talk about that in just a second. But, I mean, like you said, from early part of the season, all the way up from in Northwest Territories, all the way to late season archery hunting here at home. I mean, we just, the chips fell where they may, and we had great luck.
Well, I think, too, over the years, we've kind of, strategized now with our schedule. You've gotten really good at knowing at what point in time in the season we need to be here. And we've got this many days to be there. And then when that's over, that's it. We got to throw in the chips. We got to go to, the next place. And continuously we did that year after year. You're fine tuning and tweaking our schedule to the day of where we need to be in what location, when different specific places are hot, when they're not, that kind of thing. So,
well, that's honestly, I think, pre-planning and scheduling, and some of it changes, day to day.
Right.
You got to kind of roll with the punches.
Absolutely.
But I mean, scheduling and just being on the go and persevering all the way through the fall from start to finish is always the way you have success. And I've seen that ebb and flow over the years where, we'll start, maybe slow, but then in the end it picks up and it all comes together.
Yeah.
Or it might, be the opposite way. You might start really hot and then in the end, you kind of finish slow. So all together we got enough content, and this year, we're great from start to finish. So
right. It seemed like every time we were leaving, the kids were knocking something down.
Yeah, and we talked about that. Carson and I just did a podcast, and we talked about his success and how the kids did, and it was amazing.
Phenomenal, yeah.
We'll get into that in the middle of the season, but our season really kicked off. And those of you that are watching the podcast, can see the examples. If you're listening, you can go and see the video version, which then shows you a little bit sneak peeks at some of these hunts, which I think you'll probably enjoy. So, again, if you're listening, check out the video version because it has some pretty cool stuff that nobody has seen yet. And
Absolutely.
We'll show you some sneak peeks to what's coming up on Q3 or starting in July of our new season. So we're pretty excited. It all kicked off in, of course, one of our favorite epic places to hunt, and that was in the Northwest Territories, hunting with Canal Outfitters, Glenda and Glenn up there. What a insane place to go. Of course, we went back this year. We wanted to do mountain caribou again. And this time we were taking our new Browning rifles to the field, which was something, that was awesome for us because we had, never shot Brownings before. And we were excited to put them to the test and get them out in the field and just see how they performed at long range. And these rifles shot awesome. We were shooting the new X-Bolt long range hunters. I can't say enough, but we're after big caribou, and these caribou, they live in sheep country. They live in the mountains. These are mountain caribou. And of course they got big tops, or they got a lot of mass, big, shovels and stuff. So, you don't see a ton of caribou like you would if you went to Quebec, but, if you put in your time and you do a lot of glassing, sooner or later you're going to lay your eyes on a great big one.
I was going to say, we saw a lot of caribou this trip.
Compared to past years.
Right. We saw a lot.
But we went to little bit different areas to find them. And it started out, yours started out first. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Glenn and Glenda have become second family to us. We've been hunting up there a third trip in a row now. And, them and the kids and Glenda's mom and dad and just everybody there in camp have become like second family to us. And so going up there, we're always excited anyways. And there's nothing like flying in on that plane to base camp and just knowing, looking down at the mountains and the scenery and just knowing you're getting ready to go out on an epic adventure. And, even if it was the third trip there, it's like, it's so vast. You see something different every time, right? And so, flying in and landing is, of course, awesome to be able to see everyone. And then, we flew out to where we were going to be hunting mountain caribou. And as Pat said earlier, it was a different spot than we'd been in the past couple years. And it was really cool. And just being able to fly in on the helicopter, land there. There's something about that feeling inside of you when that helicopter takes off and leaves you there and you're stuck with your tent and your pack of a few belongings that you brought trying to cut down on weight. You're there for the time being.
That's roughing it.
Right. And, but there's just some sort of sense of, that it totally gets into your blood. And everybody's like, I just don't know how you can do it. I don't know how you can go out and wear the same pair of underwear for 10 days or.
I was going to say, my thought when that helicopter hit the ground is I got to put up with my wife not showering for 10 days.
Right. A female smells a lot better than a male, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
But no, I mean, there's nothing like mountain caribou hunting up there. And so, we got in that first night in Northwest Territories. You're not allowed to fly for a certain amount of hours after you land. So we always fly in the evening, enough time to get our camp set up in daylight hours, just sit there at camp, do a little spotting with our spotting scope there. So, we did a little spotting and we actually spotted a nice bull that night. And so Cole said, we're going to sleep on it. And the next morning, we'll wake up and kind of see if we can spot him because we were in a good spot to be able to see for miles and miles where we were. And he said, if we can't see him from where we are here, then we'll hike up a couple miles up to another high spot and be able to spot, some different other areas there. So it was like we woke up that morning to like a mad scramble. Cole's like, hurry, hurry. He's right there. He's right there. And he was only probably 400 yards from the tent. And when Cole woke up that next morning, it was right at first.
Yeah, he said he's in gun range of us in our tents.
And so we're like trying to hurry up and, get everything put together and stuff. And it was like a mad dash scramble getting ready. And by that time, we kind of had to let him feed off and kind of down the rise a little bit. So we had enough enough of a rise where he couldn't see us moving around at our tents and stuff, and we'd spook him. So we had to let him go a little bit. And then he got ready.
Yeah, he didn't stop right at the tents.
No.
One thing about caribou is they never quit moving.
They're always on the move.
And
they move fast.
Yeah, when we saw him the night before, he was across a big valley system, and he was on our side the next morning. By the time we got up and got ready, he was already moving off.
Right.
We probably had half a mile to a mile hike from actually our tent to get after him. But like I said, we got ready in a quick hurry.
Right.
We didn't have time to get anything to eat. No coffee, no brush your teeth, no nothing. It was on the go. And I remember coming over the rise, and he was across this little valley, and he was over there. That was the coolest part that I remember is he was licking. Actually, he was stopped licking on a caribou shed. And
I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of something cool about the footage. Yeah, he's just sitting there licking on this antler, and then he moved off, and then we kept pursuing him. And then he got in a position where he got a good broadside, and you put the hammer on him, and then the work really began.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's when it all begins.
So we spent the whole day just, getting him quartered up. And then, then of course I had a tag. So the following day after we quartered him, we took, you got to do everything to these things. I mean, you can't leave any meat. And I mean, we take it all on our backs back to camp. And got it back there.
And we stashed it a ways from our tents and stuff because we were in grizzly bear country.
Well, there's tons of bears there. Yeah. And we actually have footage from our tents of these two bears chasing caribou.
Right. Which just right across the drainage from where we were.
Right. They're right there.
It would have taken no time at all for them to get over to our way.
And I mean, if you've been to Northwest Territories or even British Columbia, both provinces do not allow bear hunting for grizzlies. And so
It's
what
crazy the number of them that we saw.
yeah, what happens is these bears are not afraid of humans.
No.
And actually, our guide from a couple years ago up at Canal, his name was Phil. He had a hunter killed right in front of him, a moose hunter. They were starting to gut a moose, and a bear come out and grabbed the hunter right by the neck and broke his neck. And so this is real. When you see them up there, and the bears are not afraid of humans like they are in most places, you
Well, a
got
lot
to
of
take them
people
serious.
joke about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you're in bear country. What do you guys do?" And we're like, "It's no joke." I mean, and the guides too. The guides have a gun wherever they go, and same as us. Like when you're sleeping in your tent at night, everybody knows. You got to be on high alert. It's not like you get a great night's sleep sound. I mean, it's like you're always on alert, no matter what. You hear anything at all, and you're awake.
Yeah, and it's deafening quiet. So
Right.
you would hear something a lot of times if it's outside. But yeah, you're always afraid of grizzly bears, and you're always on the lookout. So is the game. I mean,
Right.
they're skittish of everything too. So
And now we have caribou meat.
yeah, we got fresh caribou, and we smell like fresh caribou. So yeah, that night we slept a little uneasy. We got up the next morning and we hiked looking for another big bull. We went up over the top of this big
Oh
mountain.
my gosh, yeah, that was
And
a hike.
Spotted this caribou at long range, and then started to put a move on them, and we got really close, and something happened where they heard us or the wind, and they blew out and went down across the big valley system and never quit running. And we watched there was one exceptionally really nice bull in full velvet, and he was narrow, but he had really good tops and bottoms, and he went over the ridge with the rest of them, and for some reason he didn't follow the other two, and he turned around and kind of come back our way. And then as soon as we seen that, we decided, heck, if we turn around now, we can make it back to camp by dark, but if we go after them, there's a good chance that we'll spend the night on the mountain.
Right.
If we
Yeah,
don't
and
get
that's
them.
the choice as a hunter that you have to make a lot of times up in these places. I mean, you spot an animal and you get to a point in the day where, the guide turns and looks at you and says, okay, we're at a point now where if we go after this animal, there's a 99.9% chance we're sleeping on the mountain tonight with no sleeping bags, no nothing, so there's a lot of times where you, as
No
a hunter,
food,
right?
no tent, no nothing.
I mean, you have to make a choice, and we've gotten smart enough over the years now and done it enough where you throw in a couple extra candy bars, or you have an extra coat or something to just save your life if that does happen and you do end up on the mountain overnight and can't get back to your spike camp. But that's kind of the situation we got in with your caribou.
Yeah, well, we spent the night on the mountain twice now without anything. I mean, even without water. So we already accustomed to maybe doing that. So, of course, you know what? Being driven means, hey, you
Just
can't
part
turn
of it.
around. We dove off the mountain right after the caribou and put on about another mile, and we caught up to this caribou in a rainstorm. And
It was raining, snowing, sleeting sideways on us.
yeah, and this caribou was on the move, and he was crossing a valley, and he got over on the other side, and I just smashed him with that 6.5 X-bolt, and he didn't go. He went right to the ground.
No, I was going to say you just dropped him.
Yeah, and then we were all excited because we knew that we could, hopefully get the chopper in that night to get caribou
We were
out and
hoping
us,
still, but
get us back to base camp, and that's what happened. I mean, we
definitely lucked out because the weather could have went that direction too towards base camp, and it couldn't have, it could have been bad weather for him to fly and not be able to come in to get us.
I mean,
Lee,
we look
so.
like ninjas with our outdoor edges. We were just chopping this thing up as fast and
As quick as
and I was
possible.
keeping it, and the other guy was quartering, and we were
It
trying
was
to
a
get this
teamwork
thing,
for sure. Yeah.
got the thing processed. But anyways, and then Nicole decided, when she got her caribou down, she flew all the way back home because Cashin's first day of preschool.
That's right.
Being part of the mom and the family thing, we had to do that and get
Yeah.
back for the kids. But then I stayed, and she punted for, I think, 6 or 7 more days, and we came close. We hiked our butt off, and we finally saw a shooter ram, and we ended up blowing him up over the top of this ridge. And then we spent the remainder days looking for that ram, passed on some smaller ones, but came home with a sheep tag sandwich, which I hate. They're nasty tasting.
Especially on a hunt like that, you put so much time and effort into going to a location like that. And it's not that there were a lack of sheep, but just weather elements. There are so many things that were playing against us on the hunt. And it's just part of it.
You all you do is climb and you
Yep.
look for these things. And I mean, nobody can take that away from you. You're not spoon-fed any type of animal. This hunt is the hardest in North America, in my opinion.
I'm giggling at some of the
My
things
cameraman-
I was just going to say, I'm giggling at some of the things they came home and told me about.
My cameraman, I'll never forget. My cameraman, Aaron, we were climbing because we would climb probably 3,000 to 4,000 vertical feet per day. And of course, you wake up in the morning, you're sore from the day before, you're tired, you don't feel like even moving. You get out and you have some, you try to warm up a little bit of water so you can have something warm. But your day starts out miserable because it's, straight upwards. And you can climb. We were climbing most days for 6-7 hours straight up to, 4,000
I'm
vertical
happy
feet.
I went home.
But it wasn't funny. It wasn't nothing to laugh about because when we
He's texting me and calling me from the satellite phone.
it was brutal. And in the end, again, we came home empty-handed. And that's just, sometimes it goes that way.
Right.
I've had more sheep hunts that went that way than have had success. So unless I take my wife and then she shoots out the first day, that's the easy one. But
I'm like, one and done. That's good.
so anyways, that was our first hunt. So
Yep.
we came home with 2 beautiful mountain caribou and nothing to sneeze about. Lots of great caribou
Right.
meat and memories. And someday we'll go back, I'm sure, and hunt with Glenda and Glenn again up at Knoll.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great people.
Yeah.
The next hunt that we did, we came home. What did we do next? I don't even remember.
I think it was Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think we were home for maybe a whole 24 hours.
I
not
come
even.
home and all of a sudden had to gear up from like living in cold snow conditions to going to hot, really hot,
Right, it was
humid
like
weather.
90s.
Yeah, and we're going to Kentucky. We're hunting with our good friends out there, John and Ryan and everybody.
Kenny and everyone.
Yeah,
Yep.
Kenny
Robbie,
and
all
Robbie. Yep, all those guys just have become our second family out there. And they got quite an elk spot out there.
Right.
Last year shot a monster
Yeah.
bull. We nicknamed Tank, or they nicknamed Tank. And so I was looking forward to finally having the tag myself because
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't let me hunt this year.
yeah, right. And we're hunting this year. It wasn't with rifles like last year. You got to hunt with a rifle.
Yep.
We came earlier, so it was archery only, which of course adds a whole different element. You can use a crossbow, but you also have to use, if you're gonna, you gotta use archery equipment. So I used my Matthews Verdicts, and it was not an easy hunt because it was so warm. The bulls weren't bugling.
And they weren't moving very far.
No, I mean there was very little movement in the morning from feed to bed.
Right.
And we knew if we were gonna have to be aggressive if we were gonna get a shot at one. And they had trail cameras of several really nice bulls, so we knew they were there. It was just a matter of trying to get on one.
Right.
So you hunted the first 2 days
Yep.
and really didn't have much for luck. And then you left and went home to go with Cashin and go back to school. And then I stayed with Aaron and we hunted hard. And like on the 4th day, we ended up hearing this big bull and really got aggressive in the early morning
I was going to
hours.
say, I remember you calling and saying, we got to change up the game plan, do something different because these elk are just not moving.
Well, we figured out finally where he was just by a bugle. And once he bugled, we could tell his deep
Right.
growl. We're like, man, that's him. It's got to be him. So he was just a big typical with lots of mass. So we kind of figured in the morning, if we got in there really early, like hours before daylight, and just sat and listened in the dark, he would probably bugle again because he bugled that one time at night. So we got in there real early, and sure enough, he bugled well ahead of daylight. So that kind of gave us a pinpointing direction to get, in tighter.
Right.
And that's what we did. We zoomed in and got in tight on him and got got right in his bedding area.
I think your reaction is probably my favorite of all of them this year.
Well, you're already spoiling it. You've already told people that my reaction's good. I mean, so we get in. Let me tell the story. You tell your story, I'll tell mine. We get in there in this bedding area, and it's so thick you can't see not even 10 feet in front of you. I mean, it's just thick, and I could smell elk. I could smell him. I'm like, we are in close, and all of a sudden, right about that, I looked over, and this cow was coming kind of in our direction. I'm like, I told Aaron, don't move. And he's like, what do I do about the tripod? I said, take the camera off the tripod and just put it on your shoulder. And we're just going to stand here because it's so close. You don't have to zoom. You'll be wide. And sure enough, this cow comes like right in front of us at 5 to 10 yards. She don't see us. She walks right by because it's so thick in there. And this bull is right behind her, and he's just, making all these grunting noises. And I can see just flashes of antler, and I'm like, God, looks like him for sure. And then he is at this bush forever, and I'm thinking, please don't smell me. I mean, he's so close, I ain't even breathing. And finally, I just said this prayer, and about, it seemed like God answered it, because like seconds later, he just turns and comes right out in this little opening, enough that I had a clear shot to his shoulder, behind his shoulder, and I just drew back and let my blood sport fly, and it just smoked him. And I knew I had him as soon as I saw my arrow hit him. And we heard him crash through and stop and fall down. And like you said, my reaction was kind of goofy, but it was priceless, because I'm like, it was in shock. I'm like, we did it in the worst conditions ever, and we just smoked the biggest elk on the mountain.
Well, it just goes to show, too, getting aggressive. I mean, there's times to get aggressive, and there's time to be patient, right? And that was a time, like you said, I mean, you were down to only 2 days left of the hunting, and all 4 days had been the exact same thing. It was so hot. I mean, you couldn't even walk 100 yards without sweating to death. I mean, it was so hot. The bulls weren't bugling. They weren't moving. So it was just one of those things where you knew you had to change up the game plan to even have a shot at one.
Yeah, if you can't
get close.
And if you can't see the elk visually or hear them, you're pretty much, you're pretty much hooped. You're not going to have much for luck if you can't make a game plan. But fortunately, he bugled and gave us his location away, and we just went on kind of a hunch and got in tight on him. And that's I learned one thing a long time ago about elk hunting. If you're aggressive, there's more times you're going to be successful than unsuccessful, because I've seen a lot of people that are more timid, and they just are timid, try to get in, and they kill a fair number. But the guys that kill the big bull, the herd bulls, are super aggressive. Mm-hmm. They get right in amongst them. And, of course, they blow a lot of deals, but they also, put their tags around some big herd bulls. So that's what we were, and, I mean, it paid off. Mm-hmm. And we got a big bull on the ground. This bull could be potentially a new state record. Yeah. He's 10 inches, green scored 10 inches bigger than the previous state
archery record.
So I need to get him officially scored now, and I don't really score a lot of my animals, but I should get this one done just because he's right in that area. He's like, he grows like around 384, 85-ish. So really stud of an elk, and he's got lots of points.
And
a lot of typicals.
It's funny because just starting hunting Kentucky the last couple of years, we never even really knew a lot about elk hunting in Kentucky, and it's just been phenomenal.
So it's a sleeper state.
Looking forward to again this year. The difficulty is getting a tag.
Yeah, tags are hard to come by, and you just got to be able to get lucky and get a tag. So, but
they're great. They've became great friends of ours too. And Emma ended up shooting an elk later on in the season.
Yeah, that's right.
We weren't there, but so she ended up shooting her first elk later on, which was so cool because she was with her dad Brian and her grandpa John. And that's pretty awesome to be able to have that experience and that. And she's such a well-rounded. She reminds me so much of myself. She's girly.
She's way better than you.
She is, but she's girly, but yet she loves to get outside and get her fingers dirty and go hunting and enjoy stuff with her dad and her grandpa. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, a beauty queen and a hunter.
That's right. What a combo.
I'm trying to talk my sons into maybe being a little more interested on that one.
That's funny.
anyways, that was a good start to the
Right.
season. And then we went where?
We
To the
came
Yukon.
home for a couple days, and then we were packed up and headed to the Yukon for moose hunting. My first ever archery moose hunt. I've hunted a couple times prior, and we did bring the Browning along as well. But I've been on 2 previous moose hunts and have tried my hardest to get one with a bow. And the very last day, shot one with a rifle. So Pat's like, "We're gonna bring this rifle just in case." And I'm like, "I just want to really get
Figured
one
she
with."
would shoot one with a rifle again.
I'm like, "I just really want to get one with my bow. This is my 3rd trip, and I just really want to seal the deal with a bow." So the first few days were tough.
And I gotta throw something in there because on most of these trips, I had a secondary tag, and it always came down. Nicole's still hunting on the last day.
That's
Well,
why
guess
he wanted
what?
me to bring the rifle.
And I always get the shaft and never get to shoot a secondary bull because she's still hunting. Well, this year was no different. I had a secondary tag, and I'm like, please, Lord, let us try to get one with a bow and arrow. And first couple days
It was tough.
we flew in. This was a total remote wilderness hunt on a river system. We used jet boats, and if you've watched Driven, you've seen several of
at
these
Caesar
hunts
Lake, yeah.
up at Caesar Lake hunting with the Wilkinsons. Probably our best hunt. We have lots of great hunts.
But
one
we've
of my
been hunting
favorites
with them
hunt.
for the longest. 9 or 10 years, I'd say.
A long period of
Yeah,
time.
a long time.
Gotten to know these guys, and they're just become our
They are. Yeah,
Close
Mama
family.
Ruth is what I call her. I mean, they all are.
Yeah, they're just super people. But there's not a year that I would say that I wouldn't go moose hunting. I mean, I like hunting year after year. It's kind of like whitetail hunting. If you took whitetail hunting out of my hunting repertoire, I would probably really miss it. And same with
Right.
moose hunting. So I like going every year. But anyways, we got to kind of shorten our story. We're going to be here forever. But so we hunted hard the first couple days, and then like on the 4th or 5th morning, I believe. Mm-hmm. What was
I think
it?
it was day
Cameraman.
5.
My cameraman was with us. He knows.
I wasn't with on this one.
Was it day 6? I mean, seriously, the first 4 or 5 days, it was tough. I mean, there were a couple bulls that we had calling and stuff, but it was just difficult. The weather, everything was warm. Day 6, that morning we woke up and our guy Jordan said, "Today is going to be a good day." It would frosted. It was a heavy frost that morning when we had woke up. And Jordan had said, "It's going to be a good day. They should kick these bulls in." And that's exactly, we were going up the river.
Yeah, it was a cold,
Right.
high pressure morning.
Right.
With heavy frost. So yeah,
Heavy
going up
frost,
the river.
sun was shining, going up the river, just beautiful. And Jordan spotted this bull bedded down on the riverbank and on the sandbar there. And we just, tried to get around and get up to the bank far enough. It was in a spot there on the bank where we could bank off without him seeing us. We were still far enough.
I'm lost with your directions on this one.
a lot
Bank
of times.
off, I don't know. People
Well,
are like,
a lot of
"What
times
is she
when the
talking
river,
about?"
when you bank around, they could be right there.
Well, there
And
was
it
a bend in the
still-
river which allowed us to
Right. There was
get
enough
to that
room.
point in the bend where we could set up our other camera. We brought
100
Jared
yards away, yeah.
Yeah, so he could kind of see the bull, which was still bedded down when we got to that point, and then we dropped down and got down on his level on the sandbar, and we had about 200 yards to gain to get up to where we wanted to set up and call at the bull, which is another 100 yards away from that setup location. So all in all, it was 300 yards when we're at the bend of the river. So we hustled down there. We get down there, and we're like getting almost up to where we wanted to set up because we had found
It's kind of depth perception too,
Yeah,
though.
we-
Everything changes when you're actually down in there.
we found a spot where we wanted to get to our bush that we kind of wanted to make it to. And when we were getting close, we're like, I think that's the bush. And all of a sudden we heard the bull grunting. We're like, oh boy. And now we went into panic mode because we're like, if he's up grunting, he wasn't grunting when he was laying there. So now he stood up and he's moving or something. So we got to hurry up and set up. So we just
Right.
kind of, Nicole and I just looked at like over and found like a bush that we could hide behind. It was just a willow bush that was half
Well, we had
leafed
to
out.
keep that between us and him too, because I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
so we hid behind it,
Right.
and just kind of knelt down, and then the guide went, another 50 yards behind us into another willow bush, and kind of tucked
started
in and
cow
started
calling.
immediately started cow calling because
Yeah.
we didn't want the bull to walk off, and we didn't know if he had a cow, but the guide made a call, and that bull
It was instant.
turned around on a dime and started our way. And I remember kind of could see through that willow bush, and I could see him coming, and we could definitely hear him. He's like, "Whoa."
We're on our hands and knees, trying to get as low as possible.
And he's coming right at, like, our bush is out in the middle of the sandbar, and he's coming right at the bush. So Nicole is facing this way, and of course I'm facing this way, but we don't know if he's going to go on the left of the bush or the right. So at one point we're like, go to the left. He's coming to the left, and we get switched around, and all of a sudden he's like, no, I think he's going back to the right, and the bull's not even 5 yards away. No, maybe a little bit more. Maybe not less than 50 yards away.
Right.
He's coming in, and finally we were like, okay, we're going to stay focused on the right because it looks like he's going the right. And sure enough, and I told Nicole, I said, whatever you do, when this bull comes like close, and when you pull back, you got to draw slow. So this bull is coming, and he's like getting within 10 yards of us. And
he closes the distance to 5, and he stops.
No, she yanks the string off the bow, which he then catches movement in the bush, and instead of like drawing slow, she was so jacked up, she just about yanked the string right completely off the
I don't
cams.
know if it was that much, but he
people
likes to
see it.
over-exaggerate. But anyways,
This
moose has stopped like not even 3 steps from, I mean, he's literally right on the other side of the bush.
4 steps.
And I can hear like his breathing, his nostrils going in and out. And I'm like, he's close whenever you could hear like the deepness of his breath. He wasn't even making any noises, just his breathing. And I was like, oh my gosh, my heart was
that
just
wasn't
going
your
crazy. My heart was going crazy.
I could hear your heart.
And finally he committed and started coming. And then,
I'm over her shoulder running one camera. The other camera's a couple hundred yards away up on the bank filming from another angle. And this bull is like behind the bush at first, and he just comes walking out.
I don't know how long I held full draw. I have no idea. But
at least a minute, because we have a time code running.
I know, I was just saying my prayers because my arms were dying.
And that bull, when he walks out, he's looking down at us. We're so close, and they're so tall, and he's looking down, and we're just crouched down, and she's at full draw.
Well, an animal's close when you have to look up at him.
Yeah, and she's aiming, and I'm filming right over her shoulder. I'm up, and then he kind of stops, and he's right behind his vitals.
Right.
He has this like one little branch covering his vitals, and she's like, wait. We're waiting. She's not shooting because she didn't want to.
Obviously, aren't talking at this point. Yeah.
And I mean, you did a perfect job. I mean, I don't know how you held it together. I don't think I could have done it. And this bull, she's just aiming and waiting, and
of course, I can't shake or anything. I'm trying not to shake at least because he's staring right at us.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it seems like he postured because after he's looking at us and he's studying us, and I think he thought we're wolves crouched down, because then he just kind of like postures, like swaggers into position like he's ready in fight mode.
And did you notice that in the moment? I didn't notice
I didn't notice. I just seen
watched.
Like he committed and he walks right out in the wide open. And of course, Nicole's like right on him and just drills this bull perfect.
I think I was more happy I could let my bow down. I've been holding it for so darn long.
It is probably one of the most epic kills that I've ever filmed. And, it would win best big game footage of the year for sure if they still had the golden mooses.
Right.
But I mean, this thing, as soon as she smokes it turns and runs right out in the sandbar. And I look, and there's just like big puffs of steam coming out of both holes on each side as he's breathing. And he just starts immediately swaggering and sidestepping, and then he just drops. And her reaction. You talk about my reaction. Your reaction is priceless because the bull drops, then she drops down and starts like hysterically kind of sobbing, crying, laughing. I don't know what you had going on there, but
I don't either, actually.
you were just hyperventilating, and it was all over because you knew you had your bull because he was laying behind you at 50 yards, and I'm like, hey, come out of it, and all of a sudden you like realize our guide comes running up there, and you just bear hug this guy like crazy, and it was
awesome.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It was probably one of the coolest moments of hunting history that we got for Driven.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, then just like Caribou, I mean, once they hit the ground,
the work begins.
You have all these, this recovery stuff, and and just cutting this thing up and getting it all processed.
And they do it right up there. Like Joel has his guides in check with exactly what they have to do with the moose and everything after you get it taken care of. Jordan was awesome. He's been well-versed, obviously well-trained with Joel. He makes sure all of his guides, know exactly what to do when that moose is down. And, it was a full day's worth of work that we knew we had to do. And
you're immediately of course, this is right away in the morning, so we know we have the whole day.
But still, you still have a lot to do, right?
If it was in the afternoon or later in the evening,
right.
there's no way you can process a moose in just an hour or
right.
two. So we have the whole day to just relax in the sandbar and cut this moose up.
It was nice. We had a fire and we ate some lunch.
You had a fire. Jordan and I did most of the work, but they lay the tarps out, you quarter this thing up,
right.
You take everything, ribs, brisket, neck, everything. When you leave, all it, and you debone the legs, so there's just leg bones there, and a pile of intestines, and that is it. And it's pretty amazing.
Right.
And, got the whole moose processed back in the boat, took it back, hung it on the meat poles, covered it up.
That's the coolest part, just coming back to camp and bringing all that. And then that night, of course, we fried up some fresh tenderloin.
Oh, that's the best.
We ate like kings and queens that night.
Yeah, we stay in this comfortable little cabin that are built along these rivers. So I think that's the best part about going to Caesar Lake. Everybody that I know that goes hunting with them enjoys these little, small cabins that are built strategically along these river systems. So you're not ever staying in a tent, and you're always warm at night, and you got a nice warm place to sleep and a hot meal. But I was most excited more about I had a tag, and I still had 2 days to get it done. So that next day, it was 2 days or one day?
No, it was the next day that we went out. You had 2 left.
I had 2 days. And so we decided, to get up the next day and get after it again. And that's what we did. We got up the next morning, and we saw a big bull really close to camp, but he was with a cow, and we didn't get a lot of footage of him, but he was a giant, and I would have shot him and been so happy. But fortunately, just like a whitetail buck, he was just more interested in the cow he's with than us. So we never seen him again. And then we're traveling upriver, and we're just, under full power with the jet boat, and all of a sudden we come around this corner, and there's this bull bedded on the bank, kind of like yours was. And
but we're
like,
there.
Oh my gosh, we just never even let off the power. We just zoomed by him.
Right.
And we went up on the other side of the river, and we docked the boat, and then we snuck back on the other side, and we got kind of watching him. And we called at him, and he just didn't act interested in us at all, which was kind of weird, we thought, because it's full rut is on. He should hear a cow call and get up, especially when he's by himself. But he just kind of laid there, tired and exhausted, and didn't really care about us. So I told our guide Jordan, I said, let's just get in the boat and let's just
drift down.
Not under power at all.
Right.
Let's just drift down to right where he is. And if he's not where I can see him out of the boat, I can then slip out of the boat and then get quietly on the shore and then sneak up over the bank and probably be within bow range.
Right.
So kind of mark the spot. We're slowly kind of paddling down the river.
This is where it gets interesting.
Of course, my wife is not paddling. She's just walking around. And Jordan's paddling. And all of a sudden, my wife is like, Patrick, he's right there. And I know where he is.
Patrick's like, yeah, I know. And he
I
keeps
keep
paddling. I'm like, no, he's
she's like,
right there.
He's right there. And I'm like, I know where he is. We got to get to that log because that's the log I marked, And then she's like, no, you dummy. He's standing right there looking at us. And I'm like, I look up and I'm like looking up out of the boat, up at him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right there. So, he's already in bow range.
Right.
So and it's legal to shoot out of the boat as long as it's not under power. So of course we're drifting and motor's off. I just set down the oar and I just grab my bow and I have to knock an arrow and I'm just falling apart because he's standing there. And I get an arrow knocked and we just kept drifting and we drift right into a perfect position where he's broadside. I pull back and smoke him. And One thing about that I'll never forget about this bull is when I hit him, he was like he was in a fight with another one. He thought this other one had gored him, so he starts spinning around, and he has an arrow right through his lungs. He starts spinning around and kicking and flailing and
Well, he was kind of
horn and
quartering
everything.
too, so your arrow exited out right above his back hip on the opposite side. And it was almost like you said, it's almost like he thought he was in a fight with another bull or something. I've never seen an animal do what he did. I mean, it was like a horse, but times 50.
Like
and the
kicking
thing
everything.
was, I mean, just kicking like crazy. Snapped a big tree about like this, just snapped it in half
About
like it was
3
nothing.
inches around, 4 inches
yeah,
around. He
like
just-
it was nothing.
Yeah, and then of course I had time to knock another arrow. I shot him again behind the lungs, so I have 2 arrows
Two
in
perfect
him, and he's
shots, yeah.
still spinning around. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna keep shooting. So I'm getting ready to shoot again, and this moose bails off the bank
Right at our
right
boat.
at us, and I'm talking.
Chaos broke loose.
Yeah, Nicole has a gun. She almost shoots me. I'm like, don't shoot him. And little did she know there wasn't one even in the chamber. And the bull gets in the water by us. My cameraman freaks out. Kind of camera goes up in the air for a second. We kind of missed him coming off the bank into us. And it was just chaos, like she said. I have another arrow already knocked. And this bull stops in the water looking at us, and I drill him again. And as soon as I put that other arrow into him, that was it.
Right.
And
right. And I think he was done anyways. He was just
Oh, yeah.
running on adrenaline because you had 2 perfect shots into him. But yeah, it was amazing to see
So
the way
he-
he reacted.
Right, and he falls in the water.
2 years in a
Starts
row.
floating. The current's going, and he starts floating downstream. We have to grab him. You can get him tied up. And then the real
Right.
work began. We had to get him all the way back into shore. And one thing I learned about a moose, they float when they're in deep water, but once they start touching, which is about 5 feet,
Right.
5 feet deep, their
Forget it.
sides,
It's dead weight.
yeah, it's like pulling a semi across the cement.
Right.
When it's flipped on its side. So we're pulling, and we got to come along out, and we finally got him up onto dry land enough that we could work on him. And of course, we spent the rest of the day, getting this thing all cut up with our outer edges. And
It was an exciting couple days there.
but boy, the pressure was off. I mean, you talk about filling the freezer in a quick hurry.
Right.
That's a lot of moose meat. I mean, we put
It was the most successful trip we've had, but also probably the least amount of sleep we've had on a hunt too.
yeah, it's because oh yeah. How could I
You
ever
were-
forget this?
You are following along there for a second.
Yeah. You're right. I was sleep deprived, and it wasn't because we worked hard, because we shot 2 moose and we spent all day processing these things and we're exhausted. It was not that. It was totally because my flippin' wife, I don't want to say too many bad words, but yeah, it seems that the mouse had taken up residency.
I think Jordan
mice,
put him in there on
plural.
purpose.
Mice had taken up residency over the past year since we'd been there on our last trip.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I mean, it was invaded. And
I think they're having a family reunion.
Nicole was having no part of it. If you ever been around her, seen, that she's afraid of mice. And we didn't bring traps. So now we're on our own to try to devise.
Now they're trying to make the Yukon trap or whatever they call it. The
Yeah, we
homemade
tried
Yukon mouse trap.
the 5-gallon bucket water trick, and we could not make them. Well, we found out we're kind of doing it wrong. So we weren't catching them that way. So we ended up putting a box of bottles that in cans and stuff that we were getting for garbage in, and we had that kind of stuff full. And then we put that in more of a corner. We put the bait in the back corner, and when they would go back in there,
The funniest
we
part
would
was
sneak
to
up and jam the box up tight to the corner and smash them. And
The
we got a
funniest
couple
part
that
was
way.
to see the guys in their undies in the middle of the night getting up and stalking these little mice for me. Thanks, honey. That's how much you love me. Our guy Jordan, the last morning we were there, he said his wife had
I naturally
messaged
look
him.
good in my underwear anyways. Chasing mice, I should look better to you than I do naturally.
His wife Liz, they had a newborn at home, and his wife Liz had texted him and said, "It's pretty bad whenever she's getting more sleep at home with a newborn than I am here with you."
Oh, yeah.
guys."
Our guide was ready to leave us and walk out, quit, and just quit guiding altogether just because
So
of
we
this
vowed
one
this
week.
year to bring about 50 mouse traps in prior to us coming.
Good
and
Lord, that was
deplete
terrible.
the population before
We were
get
so
there.
tired, we were delirious. But we had fun. We fished. We caught like lots
was
of fish.
awesome.
I caught bigger fish than you did.
Whatever.
But we had
Caught Walter.
yeah, you did catch Walter, coincidentally. But we
Fried
had
up fish every night. It was awesome.
fresh moose meat, and we brought home lots of moose. And the moose that we could not bring home, and we brought all we could. We brought back straps and tenderloins, and then
The back straps are bigger than me, so
and we donated the rest of it to the local community,
Yep.
which is a native community, and they love moose meat. Of course, it all went to great use, and
Right.
that's the best part about it. And getting it all the way back, and there's such a process that sometimes in TV you don't get to show all that because
You don't have enough
you
time.
you're pretty much the hunt or the show ends at the the recovery. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, but rewarding.
we even
and-
had to build another meat pole
Yep.
because we didn't have enough room to hang all the meat. I mean, it was just a really cool experience. I mean, being out there in the middle of nowhere, like he's saying, and living off the land, it was really cool to be able to experience that. But yet, you still have a little comforts of home. You have a nice cabin to come back to with a wood stove, and you have your 2-burner Coleman propane stove where you cook dinner at night and things. So you at least have a place to get out of the cold and the wet environment
Right.
and dry out, and it's nice.
Yeah, we'll be going back every year. Cedar Lake in the Yukon is a home away
Absolutely.
from home for us,
I'm looking
even if
forward
it
to
has
hunting
mice.
first again this year. Shooting another one.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Anyways, we'll definitely be going back again.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're only 3 hunts into it, and we're all already over on time. So we're gonna make this a 2-parter. We're gonna talk about how our whitetail season went right after we come back. But yeah, so far so great on the season, and
Absolutely.
make sure everybody tunes into part 2 of the season. It was an incredible year, and we will continue the stories, even some mice stories, as we come back.